Tonight, several developing stories as we come on. The rodent-infested attack. This time, the president going after a top-ranking member of Congress, slamming the district he serves, calling it filthy, a place that, quote, no human being would want to live. Already, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi calling his comments racist. Trump's wall money, the White House claiming a major victory after the Supreme Court says the administration can use billions from the Pentagon to build his border wall. So when will construction begin? Also breaking tonight, the American teens held for murder overseas, accused of killing a police officer after a drug deal allegedly went bad. And tonight, authorities in Rome say they have a confession. Protests in the streets in two major cities, more than 1,000 detained in Moscow, and tear gas fired at demonstrators in Hong Kong. Defending the neighborhood after a rash of robberies, one homeowner pulling a gun to scare off teen suspects before a second homeowner pulls the trigger, hitting one of them. Wild traffic assault, a suspect damaging several vehicles before ripping a sunroof off one car and attacking an officer with it. And extreme heat, temperatures pushing triple digits as the West swelters. And tonight, the growing concerns about the wildfire threat.
From ABC News, this is ABC World News Tonight.
And good evening. Thanks for joining us on this Saturday. I'm Tom Yamas. And we begin tonight with President Trump again being called a racist after a nasty new attack on a top-ranking member of Congress and the district that he serves. The president on Twitter today attacking House Oversight Committee Chairman Elijah Cummings, calling his district, which includes parts of Baltimore and is majority black, a, quote, rat and rodent-infested mess that no human would want to live in. The attack follows critical remarks Cummings made when the acting Homeland Security Secretary testified before Congress earlier this month about the conditions in migrant detention centers. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi swiftly condemning the comment as racist, and she's not alone. ABC White House correspondent Tara Palmieri is at the White House.
Tonight, the president lashing out at yet another minority member of Congress. This time, Congressman Elijah Cummings and his district, calling it a disgusting rat and rodent-infested mess. President Trump taking on the chair of the House Oversight Committee, tweeting he's a brutal bully after this exchange over the treatment of migrant children with the acting head of Homeland Security at a hearing last week.
Come on, man. What's that about? None of us would have our children in that position. They are human beings.
But the president didn't stop there. Writing Maryland's 7th district that Cummings represents is far worse and more dangerous than the southern border, adding it's a filthy place and no human being would want to live there. The district includes most of Baltimore, the state's largest city, the majority of its residents black. It's not the first time the president has used the word infested as an insult. Shortly before taking office, he suggested that civil rights icon Congressman John Lewis's district, which includes Atlanta, is, quote, falling apart and crime-infested. And earlier this month, Congress voted to condemn the president for racially charged comments about 4 congresswomen of color, telling the members who are all American citizens to, quote, go back to the totally broken and crime-infested places from which they came. One of those congresswomen, Ilhan Omar of Minnesota, was born in Somalia. The crowd at a recent Trump rally taunting her. Today, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi calling the president's latest attack racist. And CNN anchor Victor Blackwell, who was raised in Cummings' district, breaking down on the air.
That no human would want to live there. You know who did, Mr. President? I did. People are proud of their community.
Cummings defending his record. Tweeting, Mr. President, I go home to my district daily. Each morning, I wake up and I go and fight for my neighbors.
And Tara Palmieri joins us now from the White House. Tara, we heard in your report that hearing with Representative Cummings that angered the president was more than a week ago. Do we know what prompted this rant today?
Tom, while we can't be sure, the president's tweet came about an hour after a Fox News segment showing video of piles of trash and abandoned buildings in West Baltimore. It also showed people saying that they believe that they are living in worse living conditions than the people on the border. Tom?
Tara Palmieri for us tonight. Tara, thank you. Now to the other major headline involving the White House tonight. The Supreme Court ruling in a 5-4 decision that $2.5 billion in Pentagon funds may be used to build a southern border wall. The president calling it a big victory. So when does building begin? And what legal challenges are standing in the way? ABC's Rachel Scott is at the Supreme Court.
In President Trump's fight to build a wall along the U.S.-Mexico border, a victory. The Supreme Court clearing a path for the administration to reallocate $2.5 billion in defense funds for wall construction, money that was previously frozen by a lower court. 5-4, the court's conservative majority ruled those funds may be used, even as court challenges continue. That money earmarked for projects that would include replacing more than 100 miles of barrier. The administration pushed for a quick decision to finalize contracts by September 30th. The president quickly celebrating the decision as a big win for border security and rule of law. Those lower court challenges say that Congress has the power of the purse, not the president, and Congress considered the wall but denied it. The long-promised border wall, a cornerstone of the president's 2016 campaign.
So we're going to build a wall. It'll be a great wall. Mexico's going to pay for the wall.
Mexico is not paying. Trump has struggled to make significant gains in his border wall construction, and much of what has been built has replaced existing barriers. Ahead of the 2020 election, the president has continued his hard line on immigration, promising to build 400 miles of border wall by the end of next year.
He absolutely needs this border wall to be under construction if he is going to be able to go to his supporters and say, keep America great.
All right, Rachel Scott joins us now from outside the Supreme Court. Rachel, this ruling was just one step. As you mentioned, legal challenges continue, and opponents of the border wall say the fight's not over.
Tom, that's right. This was a ruling on funding. And so while the Trump administration can temporarily move forward, the issue of the border wall is likely to come back right here to the Supreme Court sometime this year. Tom?
Rachel Scott for us tonight. Rachel, thank you. And George will have much more on this and all the political headlines tomorrow on This Week. Make sure to tune in. But we do move on now to the arrest of 2 American teens in Rome accused of a police officer's murder. Italian authorities say Finnegan Elder and Gabriel Hayorth, both from San Francisco, fatally stabbed a police officer after an alleged drug deal gone wrong. They also say they have a confession with a knife reportedly found hidden inside their hotel room. ABC's David Wright with the details still coming in.
Tonight, these 2 Americans are behind bars at Rome's Regina Coeli prison. Finnegan Lee Elder and Gabriel Christian Natale Hjorth, tourists from San Francisco, seen here reportedly moments after being detained in their hotel room. Police say the 2 have confessed to being involved in a violent altercation that resulted in the death of an Italian police officer. The policeman stabbed during a scuffle at 3 a.m. Friday with 2 people suspected of stealing a backpack from another man and then trying to ransom it back. Police say it was a drug deal gone bad. The suspects, seen here in surveillance images, fled the scene. Police say they found overwhelming evidence in the suspect's hotel room, including the alleged murder weapon cleverly concealed behind one of the ceiling tiles, and blood-stained clothing supposedly worn in the attack. Italian media report their bags were packed, flights booked. Police murders are rare in Italy, so this case is politically charged. Brigadier Mario Circello Rega was 35 years old, a newlywed. On Monday, his funeral will take place at the same church where he was married just over a month ago. Tonight, the family of one of the suspects issued a statement. "We are shocked and dismayed at the events that have been reported," they said, adding, "We have not been able to have any communication with our son." In the Bay Area, one of the suspect's neighbors said this.
I've known Finn since he was born, and I'm in shock. He's one of the nicest neighbors I have.
The accusation's definitely shocking. David Wright joins us now live. David, these 2 are being charged with aggravated murder and attempted extortion.
That's right, Tom, and a conviction could mean life in prison. But an important note of caution, there have been murder cases before in recent memory in Italy that seemed at first open and shut, but turned out later to have lots of questions, Tom.
We have definitely seen that before. All right, David, thank you. Next tonight, a deadly accident inside a packed nightclub overseas, leaving several American athletes injured. At least 2 people were killed when a balcony collapsed in a nightclub hosting Team USA water polo players at an international competition in South Korea. 4 American athletes, 2 women, and 2 men were injured in the accident. And overseas, protesters clashing with police in a pair of major cities. In Moscow, 1,000 people were detained during anti-Kremlin protests against the exclusion of several opposition candidates from the ballot for the Moscow City Council. And in Hong Kong, police firing tear gas and rubber bullets at a crowd that refused to shut down a protest located at the same site where a mob attacked a demonstrator last week. Now to the cross-country manhunt that has Canada on edge. 2 teens, at least 3 murders, but no new sightings, and now authorities are going door to door in one Manitoba town. Here's ABC's Marcy Gonzalez.
Tonight, police in this rural Canadian community desperately searching every home, car, and train, determined to track down these teenage fugitives suspected in 3 murders. The military now arriving to help.
We're all a little bit jittery. I don't sleep at night.
Investigators say the crime spree started July 15th. The bodies of American China Dees and her boyfriend Lucas Fowler found along a highway in British Columbia. 5 days later and 300 miles away, police discovering Leonard Dick, all of the victims shot to death. Investigators linking the murders to 19-year-old Cam McLeod and 18-year-old Briar Schmigelski. The childhood friends later spotted more than 2,000 miles from the crime scenes, first in the Saskatchewan store, then in the small town of Gillam, Manitoba.
The suspects may have inadvertently received assistance in leaving the area.
The manhunt intensifying while tonight in North Carolina, an emotional service celebrating the life of China Dees.
Police in Canada say they believe the suspects may have changed their appearance. And tonight, we're told investigators are following up on more than 120 tips. Tom?
Marcy Gonzalez for us. Marcy, thank you. In Tulsa tonight, a string of robberies taking a potentially deadly turn when a victim's neighbor came face-to-face with one of the suspects and opened fire. Now that resident is under arrest. ABC's Zachary Quiche has the details.
A Tulsa neighborhood tonight still shaken from armed robbers and a resident who fired his gun claiming defense. Here, police say 2 brothers, just 15 and 17, attempt to rob a man watering his lawn who pulls out his own gun. The 15-year-old flees, the other suspects taking off but quickly crashing their getaway car. The 15-year-old, police say, would soon end up on Zach Cook's property, and Cook shot him.
We were in the kitchen and we heard pow, 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 pow.
The guy that shot the citizens at South Fulton, that's where we're at. In his backyard right now. We got a black male that's down. He's talking, he's shot in the gut.
That teen is expected to survive, but for his actions, Cook was then charged with intent to kill. Authorities say Cook felt he was defending police.
He did think that maybe the officers were in trouble. Maybe their life was threatened, or his as well, is what he had stated originally.
In all, 3 suspects, those 2 teens and 20-year-old Andrew Payton, were charged with armed robbery. Tom, still some mystery tonight on whether that neighbor, Zach Cook, still faces charges of intent to kill. The jail's website suggests the charge has been dropped. Tom?
Zachary, thank you. Now to an update in that hot car tragedy right here in New York City. Twin siblings dying after 8 hours inside of a vehicle. Tonight, their father is under arrest, facing manslaughter and homicide charges. Here's ABC's Kaylee Hartung.
Tonight, a father in jail, facing charges after his 1-year-old twins were found dead inside his hot car in New York City.
I was coming out my building when he was going around the car, yelling and screaming. It's not my fault. It was an accident.
Juan Rodriguez pleading not guilty in court, telling police he forgot Marisa and Phoenix were in the car when he went to work a full shift as a social worker at a nearby hospital.
At this time, do we have any confirmed DOAs? 2 kids or 1, okay?
After working 8 hours Friday, police say the 39-year-old man got into his car, even drove a short distance before realizing the babies were in the back seat, still strapped in their rear-facing car seats. They weren't breathing, foaming from the mouth. Police say Rodriguez immediately pulled over and screamed for help. Police taking Rodriguez into custody at the scene.
At least 23 children have died inside hot cars this year. Temperatures in New York City yesterday went up to 88 degrees. Tom?
A sad story all around. All right, Kaylee, thank you. Now to the extreme heat and mounting wildfire threat in the West. Some residents in Oregon tonight told to be ready to evacuate as the Milepost 97 fire burns near Canyonville, one of more than 40 major fires now burning out west. And firefighters also battling smaller pop-up brush fires like this one outside of Los Angeles as triple-digit temperatures set in. They are dangerous conditions, and senior meteorologist Rob Marciano is here now with the latest. Rob, good evening.
Good evening, Tom. We are heating up on both coasts, but extreme heat warnings have just been issued for the west. Check it out here as the high ridge builds in. That means the heat's going to build into Fresno, Palm Springs, Phoenix. Temperatures getting up and over 110 tomorrow. Heat advisories up in Sacramento, parts of Los Angeles. A little weak front coming through the interior northwest. That could produce more fire starts. So red flag warnings are up there for Washington especially. Here comes the heat in the east after the latest heat wave. Temperatures again in the 90s. We could see our warmest July since 2013 here in Central Park. Tom?
It's going to get hot. All right, Rob, thank you. And a passing to note tonight in the Disney family. You may not recognize the name Russi Taylor, but you most likely grew up with her. The official voice of Minnie Mouse for more than 30 years has died in Glendale, California at the age of 75. Disney CEO Bob Iger, praising Taylor's talent and, quote, tremendous spirit. Disney, of course, is the parent company of ABC News. Back now with a honeymoon nightmare for one American couple. The groom falling into a volcano on a Caribbean island, his new wife climbing in to rescue him. ABC's Lana Zock has a story.
Just days after her wedding, Akemi Chastain nearly became a widow.
I was just completely terrified that my husband was going to die on our honeymoon.
And tonight, her strength is the reason husband Clay is alive.
She blows me away in everything that she does.
Clay was rappelling down a volcanic crater in St. Kitts. Akemi at the top heard a loud snap, and then she no longer heard her husband.
I knew something was going to be really bad, and I was really scared about what I was going to find when I found him.
Clay believes his rope snapped, causing him to fall 30 to 50 feet. Akemi found his bandana, his cell phone, and then she found him.
I tried calling 911, but both of our phones, neither of our phones had any kind of signal.
So at just 5'2", barely more than 100 pounds, she dragged her new husband for almost 3 hours to safety.
She's a pretty small woman.
Even at their wedding, Clay says he knew Akemi was small but mighty, but admits he really had no idea.
I was just amazed at how strong she was.
Now, Clay has a long recovery ahead of him. He just had a procedure to relieve a fluid buildup in his spine, but Akemi tells me tonight that he is doing well. And her message to other couples: take the guided tour.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. All right, Lana, great to have you with us here on set as well. Now for our index, in a series of deadly earthquakes overseas, at least 8 people were killed and dozens injured when 2 strong quakes rocked the northern Philippines hours apart early Saturday morning, then later a third quake. Witnesses say their beds were swaying side to side like hammocks. Back here at home to a violent spree caught on camera in Seattle. Watch this dramatic video showing a 28-year-old suspect ripping a sunroof off of a car, then using it to attack a parking enforcement officer. Police say he also damaged several other vehicles and started it all by trying to strangle a woman. Bystanders eventually took him down and held him until police arrived. And to Florida now, where a woman accused of stealing an ambulance is under arrest. Police in Fort Pierce capturing the scene on dash cam. A 29-year-old woman grabbing the vehicle. You see it right there while paramedics were busy with a patient, leading officers on a long-distance chase, even turning on sirens and running several lights before crashing into an officer's vehicle. So far, no injuries have been reported. And baseball star David Ortiz is back home tonight, more than a month after he was shot in the Dominican Republic. The former Red Sox slugger just released from a Massachusetts hospital. Ortiz was ambushed at a bar in Santo Domingo on June 9th. You may remember this video. Ortiz undergoing at least 3 surgeries since that shooting. A viral video inspiring millions. It's America Strong. It's a moment millions around the world have clicked on and watched. A teenager born without arms, refusing to quit. The challenge right in front of him. Deciding to try one more time. He makes it on top. 14-year-old Tim Bannon leaning into his coach for a hug and getting emotional along the way.
I just started crying out of pure joy. It was more mental than physical. All the people who said I really, really couldn't were in the front of my mind saying, just don't do it. You're too weak to do it.
The entire moment going viral.
I'm hoping when they see that video that they're gonna be like, holy cow, if this kid can do it, I can do it too.
His grit doesn't end with that now famous jump. He's training for the Chicago Kids Triathlon. For months, running, biking, even swimming, working with two organizations, Nub Ability and Dare to Try. And his mom, Linda, also born without arms, so proud of her son and how he's inspiring millions, refusing to let his disability define him.
Watching him hit that box jump was pretty amazing, and then just seeing how he's been taking it all in stride makes me feel good about how I've been raising him.
And we will be cheering on Tim. A big thanks to our Chicago station WLS for their help on that story. We thank you for watching.